comes to staging, we've taken some of the work that you've done and we've got it up here on the screen. I'd like you to go over it with us.
Yeah, absolutely. This one that we worked on, this was actually a fun one here. As you can see in this photo, or these two photos, this was the before of the property. This was one shot of the exterior of the home. It's an ugly yellow color, very overgrown. The interior of the property was a real weird, kind of ugly yellow mustard color. The beams needed work. It just was not an attractive or a good-looking home with it. It was also a vacant home. The seller had moved out of the property, so there was no furnishings or anything inside with it. With this one, so what we did is this seller actually reached out to us. Their home had been on the market for 260 days with another realtor. It was just a friend of a friend referral, somebody that didn't do a lot of business, put a sign in the front yard, put it on the MLS, and that was about it with it. So what we did is after 260 days, the property hadn't sold. They reached out to us. They were disappointed that they hadn't sold. They had been on the market at $850,000. They only had one offer at $820,000 during that time frame. So they reached out to us, we took a look at the property, and the first thing we said is, you know what, it's the curb appeal, it's the staging, it's just the home does not show well, it doesn't look good. Here's what we can do. We got our home designer, she came out, looked at the property, made recommendations of paint colors, some work to do to the property, landscaping, and getting those ugly trees out of the front. Then we had a home stager come out, gave us some recommendations on staging the property. So in the end, the seller invested about $14,000 into the property, and that was a combination of the actual staging of the property and the work on the exterior and interior of the property. So for the $14,000, we got all the work done. Our contractors took care of everything. This was actually all paid through escrow too, so the seller didn't even need to come out of pocket with any money. This was paid from the proceeds. We went onto the market with the property. We had multiple offers in 17 days. The two highest offers were at $880,000. We went into escrow and we were closed in 3 weeks with it. And that, so for a $14,000 investment, we were able to get $60,000 additional in proceeds for the seller.
And what's so important about that also is really taking and looking at the property from the perspective of the buyers. What are the buyers seeing when they first step out of the car and look at the property and are looking at the curb appeal? And then that just sets a tone for what's in the inside of the property. And that's where Glenn and I are so successful in getting through that, putting a proper step together and plan.
Well, that goes into, you know what, you got pricing, marketing, negotiation, and all those little details that go along with this. It's so very, very, very important. So let's touch on those real quick.
Yeah. So, you know, second after we get the property ready and it's priced, it's staged, it's showing in its best light with that pricing of the property, and that's one of the most important parts, because it doesn't matter how great your home is, how great it looks, or anything else. If it's not priced properly, you're not going to get people looking at the home and it's not going to sell. You could want $1 million for your home, but if it's only worth $800,000, that's what it is. It's what the market's willing to bear, or what the market's willing to pay for the home.
So here's the question I have. So with this property, was it priced at $880,000, or was it priced at $820,000 and people negotiated up to $880,000?
That's the great thing about it, is that we had multiple offers on this property, so we set it at one price, knowing that we could get the market to bear that. And then with the marketing that Glenn does and everything else, we were able to put it together. We're multiple offers, so it drove the price.
So let's talk about marketing. How many people went through that building in 17 days?
We had over 30 individual showings in the 17 days on that property, which generated 6 offers on it, and our 2 highest being the $880,000. So
that's perfect. So if you think about this, one of the big things here is this: if you have a tremendous amount of people going through this building, and they're all looking at it as the home for them, you can have a lot of people. Now the problem is, if you have a realtor that's maybe sold 1, 2, 3 homes, or brother or sister, whatever, they don't have the experience to do that. They also don't have the resources to do it, and they don't have the know-how. So it's really important that you look for somebody who understands pricing, understands staging, can market the property, and you know what? How about tell us about the negotiation? How important is that?
That's the thing with it, Stephen. You hit the nail on the head. Was taking it, and because we've done so many transactions and negotiating properly, it's just not the price that you set up front for the property, but it's also going through the details and negotiating after the offer is accepted, going through the negotiations of the physical inspection, what that entails, and a bunch of other things.
Yeah. And that's why in the first one we talked about staging and pre-inspection, and that pre-inspection ties into it. So in addition to doing the staging, the work, everything else, we have a pre-inspection done. So that pre-inspection is what the home buyer will do when they actually offer on the property. So if we're able to do that, identify any problems or potential problems with the property, take care of the work ahead of time, then our seller is in control of those repairs, in control of the work that's done, who's doing the work, and it puts us in a better position than when we're in contract and they come back. If they have a clean home inspection, we're in control instead of them negotiating, trying to ask for big contributions or repairs with it.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thank you so much for being on the webinar. You gave some wonderful information. One of the big things I want to tell our viewers is this. If you took a look at Alan talking about the real estate and how it's going to grow, and now you're looking at how to stop your money from falling through the cracks when you're selling your property, that's so very, very important. The next step after this is, how do you deal with the taxes? How do you make that happen? But before we go there, I want to talk to you a little bit about Glenn. Glenn has a best-selling novel called The 7 Mistakes That People Make When They Sell a Property. It's a bestseller. If you're interested in acquiring that bestseller, there's an info button right on your computer. All you got to do is push it, put your information in there. If you don't want to get it through email, make sure you put your address and phone number so they can give you a call. Okay, now next step is, if you would like to get in contact and you have a question for them, go to that info page in the subject line, write whatever your subject is, ask Glenn and Shannon a question, and they'll get back to you. Thanks again, guys.
Thank
Glenn,
you, Steve. Great being
Shannon,
here today.
it was wonderful. Thank you, guys.